Okay, it's 5 o'clock now. Let's go ahead and call to order the work session for East Grand Forks City Council for Tuesday, March 25th, 2025. We'll call to order right at 5 o'clock. Will everyone please turn on your microphones? And City Clerk, please call roll.
Mayor Mark Olstead.
Here.
Council President Brian Larson.
Here.
Council Vice President Tim Riepel.
Here.
Council Members Tammy Schumacher.
Here.
Ben Pukshavinsky.
Here.
Dale Helms.
Here.
Donald Casney.
Here.
Karen Peterson. Here.
Okay, we have a quorum. Let's move to the first item. Consider Grand Rides Bike Share Sponsor Request. Mr. King.
Thank you, Council President, City Council, and Mayor. The Downtown Development Association has requested the city renew its $10,000 sponsorship for the Grand Rides Bike Share Program in 2025. The city has sponsored this program for 3 years. The DDA has bike racks located near the Cabela's downtown and the Northland campus. In 2024, DDA shared with us that the Grand Ride saw its best season yet. They had over 1,000 rides start and end in East Grand Forks. I'm going to show the heat map here. Here you can see on the heat map that the majority of our traffic was in the downtown area. What you can't see on that start and end rides in East Grand Forks is that a lot of the rides, according to the data, started at the UND campus, came to downtown East Grand Forks and either used the movie theater, the restaurants, or retail stores, and then completed their ride back on the University of North Dakota. So that data doesn't show up on our 1,000 rides, but it's important to note that there was a lot of transferring back and forth between the two areas. The bikes are used for both recreational and daily transportation, and last year they shared with us that they were planning to add adult tricycles, which they ended up doing in 2024. The DDA is asking for a $10,000 annual sponsorship. In years past, we've paid through that sponsorship with All True partnership funds. Currently in the All True account, we have just over $151,000. So we have enough to cover the sponsorship. Recommendation would be to approve the sponsorship of $10,000. And I have with me Joe Proctor from the Downtown Development Association, and we can field any questions.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Mr. King? Mr. Helms.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm for the program, so I'm just asking a couple questions here. When you say over 1,000 rides, what is that up from the year past? I mean, do you know a percentage of any kind? Is it 50%, 40%?
Sure. We started tracking the start and end in East Grand Forks specifically in 2023, and so this is about a 160 ride increase over the prior year.
Okay, and then are we still using the same bikes, or we got new ones, or what are we doing?
Nope, they're the same bikes.
Same bikes, and
yep.
they're in good shape?
Yep. We have an agreement with Ski and Bike Shop on the Grand Forks side, and so throughout the season, as you can imagine, the bikes have lots of rides on them, and so we see parts that get broken, damaged in some way. So throughout the season, we replace parts and make sure that they're ready to go all the time. And then in the off season, they do a complete once over on everything. They check everything from tire pressures to chain, oil. We order a bunch of replacement parts. People like those whistles. They like to, or the bells. They take them off of the bikes a lot. Sure. So we invest a lot in replacement parts, and then work with Ski and Bike Shop to have all of our maintenance done from a professional.
Has it gotten better for you as far as just leaving them everywhere around the city? I mean, it seems to me that I don't see them laying around as much as I used to when it first started. There's maybe a few now, but it's nothing like it was. Has that gotten better for you?
It is. A couple years ago, we invested in a GPS lock system on the bikes when before we didn't have GPS. So this is how we're able to generate this heat map, is because the GPS data goes into Mobatic, which is the back end software that we use to have the bikes function. And so we know every second where every single bike is located at. And so within our team, we rebalance them 7 days a week, the entire season that we have the bikes on the ground. And so if a bike has sat for 3 or 4 days, then we have the bike picked up and brought to a more visible location for usership.
Sure.
So
Like
that's
I
why you
said,
don't see 'em.
I'm for the program. I see a lot of people using them. you
Yeah.
know, And it doesn't really cost the city anything, so I just, that's fine. I just curious on those questions, so thanks.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? I would just add, I think this is a great program here and look forward to a continued partnership with the DDA and this ride share. So, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jill.
All right, let's move on to item number 2. Request to purchase Griggs Park Trailhead Playset. Mr. King.
All right, thank you again. Just bringing back this item to finalize the purchase agreement with Dakota Playgrounds on the Griggs Park Trailhead Playset. This was an item that kind of originally got brought up in 2023. The Acre Walk family wanted to do some fundraising to put in a playground there. The city did accept a donation from them of $1,007 with the idea that they would continue to fundraise. And then when the MPCA dollars came in and we went out to the community on survey on projects, this is one of the projects that was identified to move forward with. So the city council opted to put $75,000 towards this playground set. So just kind of doing a formality here to get everything finalized. These are similar numbers that I shared with you when we initially talked about it. The one feedback that I received was that we wanted to remove the black PVC border from the playground and go with a concrete border. So we got an estimate from a contractor and it came in at $9,000. So the total cost of the project would be $82,624.64. They've received some more pledge donations of about $1,000. So we do have a bit of a shortfall at about $4,600 between everything right now. The Acre Walk family is continue to fundraise, and their goal is to complete that fundraising amount and fully fund that portion of the park. However, at this point, we don't have those funds available. But I still think it's important to go forward with the park. It'll be a good asset, kind of be a nice way to finish off the boat ramp project. A lot of people come up from the boat ramp with little kids to use the bathroom up there. Here, they're going to have a nice nature-style play set to play with while they're doing that. Just another amenity to add to our Lefebvre Park project.
All right, thank you. Mr. Pokshavinsky.
Thank you, Mr. President. Is there any plans to rename the park or put any sort of dedication down there? I know that was briefly talked about. Where are we at on that?
So, yep, we are working with the Acre Walk family. We are coming up with a sign that will go inside the play structure that will say, based off, we have a format right now of what the city's used for park benches. It says either sponsored by or in memory of or donated by. So we were looking at having a sign that says Griggs Park Trail Set donated by or in memory of David Acre.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, any further questions? I see none. I would just add that I do recommend that we move forward with this. If we're a little short on the fundraising, I appreciate the fundraising effort. We could potentially look at the All True Partnership funds, just like the previous item as well, to cover that gap and move forward with this project.
We have, and there is a precedence for that. We did use All True funds to, I think, complete the Danmore Park playground. So I think it would be a good use of those funds as well.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, let's move to item number 3 then. Request to declare firearms as surplus property and authorize the purchase of new police carbines. Mr. Hedlund.
Thank you, Mr. President. Our department started using police carbines as one of our use of force tools back in 2007. At this point in time, we are still using those original 4 rifles. We have since expanded our fleet and have added a K-9 vehicle, which needed a carbine. And then some of you may remember once upon a time, we had a police expedition that was originally, before my time here, only used in inclement weather. When I started, we converted that over and made it a full-fledged squad car, and that was our first full-time 4-wheel drive vehicle for the East Grand Forks PD. We had to outfit that, so we bought a carbine for that as well. So 2 are slightly newer, but they still have a number of years on them. We'd like to improve the quality, and of course, it's with almost 18 years on 4 of the rifles, it's kind of time to replace those. And also, they were essentially entry-level rifles that we would like to move on to a little bit higher quality rifle along with higher quality optics. It's, I think, a better tool for our officers and helps to make them safer, and which by the same token makes the community safer. For helping to pay for this, we would trade in 6 of our existing rifles, and we also have half a dozen miscellaneous guns that have been taken in either as abandoned property or asset forfeiture. So we're still in the process of getting bids on those. We could sell them to the company that is buying them, but we're checking on local bids to see if we can perhaps get a better deal from some of the local businesses.
Thank you. Any questions for Chief Hedlund? Mr. Helms.
Thank you. Chief, I'm guessing there's nothing wrong with these guns that you're using, right? They're just getting...
They still function, but we are experiencing more and more jams and misfires during the course of our training. So
what we'll be looking at is basically just getting a little more modern stuff.
Exactly.
Right?
Yep.
And I think
they are a higher quality of firearm.
Sure. And I think what I'm seeing here for the total price and what you want to trade or sell or whatever could possibly break even, depending on how
yeah, I don't know that we'll get that much. I'm guessing we'll still have a final cost of, and again, this is very much a guess. Mm-hmm. I'm guessing we'll have a final cost of around $10,000, and we do have that much in just the patrol part of our small tools and equipment. We also have small tools and equipment funds in both the investigations and in the administration. So even if it happens to go a little bit beyond what's in patrol, we have the funding for it.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Any further questions for Chief Hedlund? I see none. Thank you, sir. Okay, let's move on to item number 4. Consider the purchase of a loader for Public Works. Mr. Stordahl.
Mr. President, so we're requesting tonight to purchase a new loader at Public Works to replace our current 2008 John Deere model. Our 2008 has close to 10,000 hours on it right now, and it was in our capital improvement plan to replace. It's budgeted for $321,000. We got 2 different quotations off the Sourcewell contract pricing page. One was for a John Deere 624 for $264,176. That included a 5-year warranty on it, and also a maintenance package. The Ziegler Cat was our second quote from Ziegler Cat for a Caterpillar 938. The price on that came into they didn't offer a 5-year warranty, so we would have to purchase a warranty, and we try to do a comparable. Comparable would be $10,500, and that brought the price to $267,959.17 after the trade. The RDO equipment, they offered us $48,000 for a trade-in on our old loader, and Ziegler Cat offered us $37,000. I think that's about all I have for you. So I would recommend that the city purchases 624P John Deere for $264,176 from RDO equipment, and declare surplus for trade our Unit 128 John Deere 544 loader, and trade that to RDO equipment for $48,000. Is there any questions?
Any questions for Mr. Stordahl? Mr. Pukshavinsky?
Thank you, sir. the John Deere a higher quality? I'm not an expert on loaders, so are they pretty much comparable, or will
They're
one
pretty
last
much
longer?
comparable. Yep. I mean, there are differences in operation and stuff. We've had John Deere for quite a while now, and it's just worked out that way as price-wise.
Okay.
But they function pretty much the same.
Right. Sounds good. Just a question. Thank you.
Further questions? I'm curious, do your operators and maintenance crews, do they prefer John Deere over Cat, or is it a wash?
I'm not sure about the maintenance part of it, but I'll let Josh speak to the operation, I guess.
I ran both, and it's just kind of muscle memory. You know, when you get in one for a while, and then you kind of get used to it. I think they're both very high quality machines, and then working with both Ziegler and RDO, both of them are, you know, top notch organizations, and the salesmen and staff. Just so happens that mostly what we have right now is John Deere. You know, 3 payloaders, and we just purchased the grader, so kind of makes it easier just having, you know, all one. You know, kind of got the same filters and everything on the shelf instead of one different thing. But no, as the quality of the machines are both, you know, very, very well, and then operations are pretty much the same too. So
Sure.
Yep.
If you're training a new operator,
Yep.
is there some efficiencies to all have the same John Deere controls versus this one's a John Deere, this one's a Cat?
oh yeah, it's, you know, it's like I said, muscle memory. You know, it's a minor thing, but yeah, at the end of the day, it makes things, you know, a little bit easier. But it's good to kind of get, you know, a little bit of a different scenario too. So because we get rentals every year, so I ran a Cat, which they only offer joysticks, or the John Deere's a steering wheel. So that's, you know, takes a couple days to get used to that, but after that, you get pretty used to it. So it's just kind of run what we got too. So
Sure.
Yep.
I would just like to add too, on the maintenance part of it, I'm not sure if our mechanics would choose one over the other, but since we have 2 other John Deere, we basically have 3 loaders. It's kind of nice as far as parts inventory and stuff like that. Just to stay with the same if we can, but it's not the end of the world if we can't. I also should back up too, this is Josh Cross too. He's a foreman at East Grand Forks Public Works. He's been with the city for over 15 years, and yeah, he has a lot of experience, so if anybody didn't know him, there you go.
All right. Any further questions? Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. All right, let's move on to item number 5. Request to set cannabis business registration fees. Ms. Nelson.
Okay. Part of the process we were waiting on from the state. They found, well, actually a little bit ago, they set the fees, and they had the information out that local governments can only set for the initial registration fee $500 or half of the initial registration fee, whichever is less, compared to the state fee. And then for the renewal fee, we can increase that to up to $1,000 or half, whichever is less. And I'll quick pull this up. So 1 second here as I just quickly scroll down so it's up for everyone. The state did set their rates. Just about there. Okay. So the state did set their rates. The only one, micro business, there is no initial licensing fee for that, so we are not able to collect anything on that. But they did increase the renewal to $2,000, so we can collect $1,000. But as you see, they're kind of all over the board here a little bit with what the initial state license is. So I'm just asking, this chart shows the maximum amount that the city could collect on each of these. The one that's not a renewal is the event organizer. I believe they would have to get a license for every event that they do. It doesn't look like, or from what I've seen at this point, it doesn't look like they can get one for every year and just renew that each year. It looks like you just get it per the event. So that's why there's not anything in the renewal. If that changes, we'll bring something forward. But I guess at this time, as staff, we're just asking if the council would like to set, the maximum amount, or if there's something else you would like to see.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments for Ms. Nelson? Busy corner over there. Mr. Helms.
Me again.
Yeah.
I guess looking at what the state has done, and I guess my feelings on this whole stuff, I would like to see us go the maximum fee on it, and whatever, however that figures out to be, but I'd rather see us do the maximum. If people want this bad enough, if anybody wants to get in this business, I don't think they won't have a problem paying that if they really want it that bad. It's my thoughts on it.
Okay, thank you. Any other thoughts or comments on the matter? I would agree that the maximum fee seems reasonable and a good way to proceed. Okay, thank you. Tim, Mr. Riopel.
I was on the same train of thought. But,
Okay.
I knew you looked at me and just looked away.
Yeah. Apologize for the slight.
You did it on the phone.
Yeah, it's true. Okay, anything else? Mr. Mayor.
I would also think we should do the max. I think that's what Mr. Helm said. If they want to do it, they should pay for it, so.
Okay. Any other comments? All right. Okay, let's move on to item number 6 then. Review of 2024 special archery hunt and proposed plan for 2025. Ms. Nelson.
Okay, and so last year was the first time we had a special archery hunt. I do feel like it was a success. Mr. King was nice enough. In the packet, there is a brief outline of what happened. We had about a 2-week period that we had 10 hunters out in different areas of the Greenway. We did issue 10 permits, 9 antlerless, and 1, I do believe there was a picture going around on Facebook. Somebody got a pretty nice buck out of there. And we were able to fill 6 tags. There were some comments made, staff took notes, we reviewed a few things, but I guess first thing that we would like to know is, would the council support another hunt this next fall? It was April of last year where the application came forward. I didn't want to spring it on you and just bring it forward, so I guess I just want to make sure that the council is still in support of holding a special archery hunt.
Mr. Riopel?
Thank you. I'd like to see the tags available go to 15, probably 12 antlerless and 3 buck. Since we only got 6 out of what we did before, I'd like to go a few more.
Okay, and that is actually something that we talked about at a staff level, increasing and possibly almost doing a split season. But I don't want to get too far into that. I'm still waiting on some answers from the DNR to see what they will allow us to do. I will hopefully be making a phone call later on this week to get those answers so that information can be brought forward. But we were looking at increasing the number of tags. I think we had talked about 14. So we're right around that 15 number. And increasing. One thing that I can say, since it was our first year, and we didn't know what it was going to, what the turnout was going to be like. We did have 40 people apply, 20 people from town, 20 people from outside of town. And I know the question was asked, because we do give preference and priority to residents. If we are going to increase the number of permits issued, we might set aside 2 permits specifically for out-of-towners, and they would be antlerless only, is what we had kind of talked about at a staff level. Any of these changes will be modified in our management plan, and that would be brought forward for you guys to review and approve again. So as long as you guys are in support, we will, the application should be becoming available here in April, so it'll be brought back to one of the meetings for you guys to vote on, and then we'll make the updates in the management plan, have you guys review that, adopt the new adopt the changes to the management plan. And then just the last thing is we'll have in our management plan, I talked about an educational piece, and we were talking about towards end of summer, beginning of fall, getting more information out there, kind of leading up to that hunt, so people, give them a reminder of what was happening and educate those on that don't know what's going on. So With that, if there's any other questions, let me know, but otherwise.
Yeah, Mr. Pukshabinsky?
Thank you. Yeah, I would agree with Mr. Repel that we increase the number of tags. I also agree that we should be providing the out-of-town residents with an option to at least get a tag, because if we're giving preference to just East Grand Forks residents, what's the point of even applying when there's more than 10, right? I would also like to see one of the out-of-towners be eligible for $1 and potentially have a larger fee associated with that buck tag. And if they get it, they get it. If they don't, they don't, but it's a non-refundable fee. So, thank you.
All right, thank you. Mayor Olsted?
Question I have you guys had any discussion on people that had got them last year? Do they not get a chance next year? Or how are you guys handling that?
I'll let you.
That was going to be my question.
So yeah, we have had those conversations at a staff level, and kind of the feeling that everyone agreed upon that because there is such a limited number of buck tags, that if you were selected for a buck tag this year, then you shouldn't be allowed to have another buck tag. And we figured instead of doing like a lifetime tag, we figured that 3 years would be a good estimate on, they would be out of the drawing for 3 years, and we can reevaluate that as it goes along. But yeah, that was kind of our feelings, is once you were selected, what we don't want is we don't want, if someone gets a buck tag once, not to re-enter into the lottery. So we wanted to have like a timeline on that where it ended, so that we would continue to get people to put into the lottery, was kind of the idea behind that.
Are you saying on all of them, not just the buck, on all of them, is it 3-year period?
So it was just on the buck is the one that we talked about. The does would still be just on a random lottery system. But we could look at it however you guys want.
That's gonna do it.
Yeah, we could look at it.
I don't want any of the ones that had them last year to call me. Not
Right,
for that, I'm just asking the question.
So for, as far as, so we were just looking at for the buck, that person wouldn't be able to eligible for the buck for another 2 years after receiving it once.
All right, thank you. Mr. Riopel?
I do like your discussion on options and wounded warriors. I think that would maybe one license for either one of those or both.
Yeah, we've started talking with options already in the early stages of those conversations, but they work with wounded warriors. So the original thoughts were we could set aside 4 tags for them. We would do it about 2 weeks before the regular hunt. They would take their 4 tags. 2 of them would be for wounded warriors, 2 accessibility hunts, structured very similar to what they do out at the Rydell Refuge. Those hunters would have first preference. They would also have, they would be getting in a couple weeks earlier, so they would have probably the highest chance of success rate. And so been working with Randy Sorensen at Options, and he really likes the idea, and it's another good way to give back to the community.
Did you have a comment, Ms.
I just
Peterson?
have a question. Does the DNR monitor like the herds throughout the Greenway? And do they provide any type of recommendation as far as the number of tags that we do offer?
So far, no. The monitoring has all been done by Mike's police department. They don't have a great recommendation. They know, unless I'm speaking out of turn here, Megan, but it's been pretty much, you guys, if you want to start a hunt, go for it and do what you're going to do. Unless you have problems, you don't have to call us. So, our estimations are around, there's somewhere between 80 and 100 deer in our greenway. I can tell you that the day after the archery season closed, there was 3 vehicle accidents on Bigland Road with deer. So there's still a healthy number of deer in our community, and still doing property damage, still fielding complaints from residents, in gardens, and so we'll reevaluate it every year. But I think for 2025, we know that the herd, especially being such a mild winter, is in pretty good shape.
Chief Hedlund, then we'll go to Mr. Helms. Did you have anything to add?
No, I was actually going to just compliment Jeremy. He's the one that I believe came up with the idea of the option/wounded warrior hunts. I thought that was just a fantastic idea. Good way for us to expand on the hunt and have a few additional tags, as well as create some opportunities for those folks. So, and then just I basically came up in case anybody had any questions. We have not done any additional informal surveys, and that's all it was basically we took a set time period last year and had our officers report when and where and how many deer they saw during the course of the season, or during the course of that time period. We can do that if you'd like. I know just for my personal driving around, there's still a lot of deer in town. Our population is obviously very fluid. Deer do come in and out of town on a regular basis. I'm sure a lot of you have probably noticed the same thing, but during the rifle season, you absolutely see an increase of deer in town as they're feeling pressure from hunters during the rifle season. They definitely come into town more, especially bucks. So during the rifle season, you certainly see more deer in town, but it varies so much here. It's not like there's a line at the edge of the city limits where they're going to stop in the Greenway. The Greenway, they're going up and down all the time throughout that section. So.
Okay, thanks, Chief. Mr. Helms?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I really like the idea of the options thing. I think that's a wonderful thing. But on the line of what Mayor Olstad was talking about, I think where he was leading is I would like to see it if we can somehow work it to where it's not the same people every year getting these licenses, and we kind of mix it up a little bit and try to get some new people, give other people a chance. I think that's kind of where he was looking.
I'm not saying either.
But I mean, that's what I'd like to see, because I don't want to have the same, I just should not have the same person every year, I don't know how we can control that for sure, because it's kind of a lottery thing.
It would be, yeah. I mean, we could come up with a point system. It gets to be a little bit tricky to manage on our end. And how we did it last year, just so everybody knows, is the registration was all online. We exported it into an Excel spreadsheet. We took all the names, and then we just put it into the Excel random generator, and then it just kicked the names out one at a time. And we started with the either or license, and then we went all the way through to 10, and then we actually invited the top 15 names that were kicked out. We invited them all to the qualification, and so we sent out the emails for the invite for the qualifying event, and then through that we disqualified 2 people who weren't proficient in their shooting. 3 were no-shows, or I should say 2 were no-shows. 1 called in saying he was having problems and wasn't going to make it. So then we basically whittled it right down to those 10. And then the person that was drawn first, they got the option to take a doe or a buck, and then they got their first choice of zone. And we're all sitting in the Nash Park Warming House going over this, and we just went right down the list. So the second person got his choice of zone, the third person got their choice of zone, and it just happened to work out this time that basically every zone was their neighborhood. So the people that were in the north end zone live up on the north end, and just happened to work out that way. So that was convenient as well. I don't anticipate it working out like that all the time, but I would hate to limit. We had a really good class of, I would say, really the hunters that were selected were really good sportsmen and understood the conservation side of it, and we really drove home the message to them that about safety and being discreet on the greenway and making sure we're doing all the right things. So I would hate, especially if they were unsuccessful, not to give them an opportunity to hunt again if they did everything right and weren't taking bad shots just to fill a tag. So I'd hate to take that away from them, because we want those types of hunters are the ones that we want to continue to be part of the program.
Maybe the idea of the options and the non-resident tags and whatever, that'll help change it up a little bit.
True.
Too. So.
And I would say, so the typical state success rate for archery hunting is around 30%. So the fact that we hit 60% in 9-10 days is pretty impressive. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of good opportunities for those hunters.
They definitely have a lot to shoot at.
Yeah.
Mayor Olstead.
I think what you said there, if you didn't get one last year, you had a tag, but you didn't get a deer, I think those should be allowed to
be able to put back in.
So I mean, I don't have a problem with it. So I'm just glad that, we got so many last year. I just don't want my neighbor to say, I told him, he said I can't do it anymore.
All right, thank you. Mr. Pukshabinsky.
Thank you. I don't necessarily want to tell the individuals that got a deer last year that they can't do it this year, but I think if they apply again, we can keep them in there. If the person that, got the buck, I think it's fair that they don't get
I agree
the
with
buck
that.
tag for a couple of years.
Yep.
But maybe it's if they win the lottery, 2 years in a row and get the deer both those years, then they're excluded for the third year. They have to wait a year.
Sure.
But like you said, if we start excluding everybody that's had the chance, then eventually we're not going to have anybody that's going to want to do it, because archery hunting is probably, I imagine, a limited group of individuals. So at some point, I think everybody's going to get a shot.
Yeah, yep, I would say so. I would say we're going to probably have, out of the 20 residents that we had apply, I would say that we'll have those 20 residents apply again. I think it was a good experience for everybody. I think it was a good learning experience. Like I said, the hunters that participated were, they were good sportsmen, and they did a good job communicating back with us if they had any issues, which there were very few. Mike's department did a good job working with any questions on licensing and tagging the deer. And there was one evening a gentleman was pulling a deer off of over by Station 2 on the south end, and they stopped and approached him and asked him for his tag, and then had a conversation with him, and then helped him ultimately, finish dragging his deer. And so I think it was a really good event for the city as a whole.
Yes, I'm just curious if any council members heard anything negative from any of the public. We did not, at least I did not, from the police department. It was all, every comment I heard was positive.
Yep, I would agree. All positive feedback is what I heard.
Thank you. I was just going to ask, Jeremy answered with 20 applicants. My concern was if you eliminate the people that got deer from doing the next year, there's only so many people to draw from, and it's going to be the same people all the time, I would think.
Right.
And just a comment is, if you ever want to know the names of the deer in the Sherlock Park area, just call my wife. She's got pictures of all of them.
Okay. Any further questions? All right. Thank you. That brings us to the end of our agenda here. I would be looking for a motion to adjourn. Moved by Helms. Second by Riopel. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Meeting is closed. Thank you, everyone.